I thought we were the protectors of truth. Democrats, Republicans, you all lie. We, a small band of survivors, are on our way to the Steel City to find the resistance. Join us.
Welcome to the Steel City Resistance with Senior Airman Ward Miller and the ironclad voice of Pittsburgh, Hutch Jr., laying down verbal C4 to blow away the lies and the political tomfoolery. Your papers have been cleared. Welcome to the Steel City Resistance.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Steel City Resistance. My name is Hutch Jr., and I am located deep down in the bunker in the city of Pittsburgh. Take two.
And I'm Ward Miller, also in the city of Pittsburgh. We had a mini nuclear meltdown right before the show. Well, right as the show started, and hopefully that's been taken care of.
Yeah, I think we're okay now. And as far as we go, Ward, I have to say that we were able to correct everything, and it is only 7 minutes after the hour. So that's pretty damn good, considering that we didn't know what was going on there. Now, we got a show for you this week. I mean, it never ceases to amaze me the amount of news that we are able to gather. And a lot of times we get so enthusiastic that we gather it at the beginning of the week. And when I go back and look at the show notes, it's like, damn, this is old news. But it's really not. I mean, it's only in a 7-day period, and normally we don't gather news on the Sunday. At least I don't. But anyway, yesterday was Gun Appreciation Day, Ward. I don't know if you did anything, or I decided to go out to a gun show, not a gun show, a gun shop. I went out to Anthony Arms, and there weren't any like celebrations or picketers or anything like that. But I was looking at the employees there, and there's a lot of them. And I was going to purchase a couple items, some accessories, and I didn't even do it because they were 3 deep at the counter. I mean, these guys looked shell-shocked, man. They looked worn out. All you could hear the phone continuously redialing the background check thing, and every single salesman was tied up, and there was just a human wall around the whole L-shaped counter. It was, I mean, this is the law of unintended consequences for the Democrats right here, man. America is tooling up.
Yeah, and well, not only that, the fact that, there's so many people that are afraid that they're going to try for a gun grab. They're saying, hey, you know what, before they get a chance to make it impossible for me to buy a firearm, I'm going to do so. And, and they're, it'll be too late for them to deal with it.
And I mean, ammunition's the same way. Ammunition they can't keep on the shelf.
Well, because what's going to happen is that's going to be their tactic.
I agree.
Because it's too hard for them. The way that the Constitution's written, it says that they can't prevent you from buying guns, but it doesn't say anything about them prevent you from buying ammunition. So that, I think, is going to be their method of an end around, is to use the ammunition against you. So, it's like, hey, it's great that you have a gun, but you don't got a bullet to put in it.
But Americans are like, yes, I do. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're stocking up. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I'm talking to people. I've been a Second Amendment and a gun enthusiast my entire life. But I've been talking to people that haven't been, that have been awakened by this. And I just think, I'll be honest with you, Ward, I've been testing the waters around. I think we're going to get the Senate back over this.
Yeah,
I mean, Bill Clinton is out there preaching to these people, shut the hell up. He said, this doesn't end well for us. Shut up. He's actively out there telling these people, you're drunk on power, but this isn't going to do well in 2014. There's a whole lot of Democrats that own weapons.
Oh, yeah. And did you see that thing I posted on the Facebook page? There's actually a clause in the healthcare in Obamacare that says they can't do a gun grab.
Yeah, and you know who put it in there? Harry Reid.
Harry
Reid to keep the NRA out of the argument. So he inadvertently already shot his party's communist left in the foot. That's another thing. I was reading. I'm telling you, we got to start calling a pig on this. I'm not saying the words liberal anymore. There's nothing liberal about Congress right now. There's nothing Hubert Humphrey about Congress. This is the communist left. These people have taken the masks off. They're denouncing the Constitution. Their mouthpieces are doing it even more than they are, and you know where they're getting their marching orders. You know, when you hear Bill Maher and these idiots talk about the Constitution as just a washed-up document and white people and own slaves, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, it is what it is. I mean, these are anti-American people that don't believe in the Constitution a lick. You know, they think all it's doing is slowing them down, which is by design.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to do.
Absolutely. Bills were supposed to go into the Senate to die. You know, now off script here, I've heard one of the most despicable senators in the Senate from one of the most despicable states, at least despicably governed states, New York, Senator Chuck Schumer said today that he thinks that the Senate will pass a budget. That'll be revealing.
I don't see that happening. You know, the thing is, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, you know, they don't feel as though they have to. I mean, even though it's stated in the Constitution that there's going to be that the president's going to provide a budget by, by the first week of February.
Yeah, the president failed. I know that.
And the president failed, and the president's only he's only been on time once in his entire tenure. And
it was voted down unanimously.
It was voted down unanimously every time. And, you know, and that's even when the Democrats had the House and the Senate. So, you know,
I don't know. I think they're going to be asking for so much money with the debt ceiling and the sequestration and everything else. I think they're starting to realize that they can't very well do that if they're not even putting a budget out there. Because, I mean, I think it's going to be unavoidable that the illegal, corrupt media is going to be able to continue to avoid these issues. I mean, I'm not crazy. I know that the deck is stacked, and I know there's not a bunch that the Republicans can do during this time. But I also know that there's going to be vast pressure on the Senate Democrats, especially the ones from red states, of which there are quite a few, to start acting. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But I heard him say that, and when I heard he's one of the elder statesmen in the Senate. I mean, he's one of the bosses. So he's a despicable man, too. I can't stand that guy. He's a Jew, too. He's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, the things he does, and it's just despicable. Now, one thing that I tried to start doing, Ward, I'm trying to get, you know, we have a solid audience, but it's remaining right around the same, and I want to try to grow it a little bit. So what I've been doing, your Facebook page works a lot. I mean, it's big. It's bigger than the audience. So we would encourage the people on the Facebook page to listen regularly to the program. That's what it's there for. So I've been saying some things on the Facebook page to that effect. But I was stationed in the Republic of Korea in the early 80s. And I was stationed at a place called Camp Stanley. And Camp Stanley was in between Uijeongbu and Camp Casey. And it was the home of the artillery. And there's a Facebook page for people from Camp Stanley that I joined and how I've been participating for several years. And it's a fairly big page. It's got, I think, 900 members or something like that. And a couple times, this last week, there was a conversation. A guy was a little timid, and he came on there and he said, hey, you know, I think I'm good with this, but I just wanted to see how you guys felt about this Second Amendment thing. And that set off a bomb. And I mean, the role on that page, the conversation was deep. It was, I don't even know how many comments. But I decided, you know what, I'm going to comment on this, and I'm going to post the blog post that I wrote on the site the day after it happened. And it got a lot of good publicity. So then I posted the show. Hey, watch this show. Listen to this show. You might enjoy it. So if there's anybody on here from Camp Stanley Facebook page, send an email, SCRTV@live.com, and let us know that that's where you're from. I just want to see if that's any effective at all, if anybody's catching the show that's associated with that page. That being said, I also engaged the West Virginia, I can't remember what it stands for, Civil Defense League, I think. Anyway, if you go on the website, there's a video on there. And this guy, I don't know if you got to see it yet, Ward, but if you didn't, you got to check it out. This guy named Keith Morgan just kicked this communist left media guy's ass on this interview. He tried to get him, and he just couldn't do it.
That's normally what happens, and what they'll do is the common technique is if I can't shout over you, it's the old line. If you can't dazzle them with diamonds, you baffle them with bullshit, and that's what they're trying to do.
Exactly.
And instead of and their other tact is if they can't bullshit you, they're going to talk louder than you.
And they're not afraid to lie.
Stuff that's just
they're not afraid to lie whatsoever. And that beauty of this video. And again, I would suggest everybody check it out. It'll be the first video below the show. But it gets to the point where this guy, every time he lies, the guy from West Virginia the guy from the WVCDL must have edited the video, because every time this guy lied, the guy put a link up on where he was going wrong, on the facts. And it was so good at the end, he called anybody that has an AK-47 a Rambo, and that pissed the guy off. The guy was like, no, why would you call doctors and lawyers and Rambos? If I gave you an AK...
Well, not only that, okay? Why would you call anybody with an AK-47 a Rambo? An AK-47 is a Russian rifle.
Right. And then he was talking about grenade launchers, and the guy's like, why are we talking about grenade launchers? It was excellent. The guy he knocked him out. But at the end, he said, so you think everybody's a Rambo? So why are you using projection tactics? If I gave you an AK-47 and put it on the table, no. If I pulled out my 9mm that I have right now and put it on the table, would you shoot me? And the guy's like, you have a gun? You're armed? Right? That's scary. Oh, it's great, man. It's one of the best interviews I ever saw. My point was I went and joined the page and promoted the show there, too. So if you're from the WVCDL and you're listening to this, let us know. That'd just be nice to know if these kind of things work. I must say, ladies and gentlemen, that we are two dedicated talk show hosts, because there is a National Football League playoff game in our division that's going on right now, and we decided we were going to do the show anyway.
Absolutely. I can't cheer for either one of these teams that are playing in good conscience. It would be very apocalyptic if I were to cheer for either Baltimore or New England, being from Pittsburgh. So if you're a Baltimore fan, hey, God bless you. The same with New England fans. To be honest with you, I'm cheering for the plane to hit the stadium.
It's a Berg thing, ladies and gentlemen. It's a Berg thing. Okay, moving on. I just wanted to say that we don't normally talk sports on the show, but it's a fact. We're here for you, ladies and gentlemen. You guys are probably watching the damn game. Billy,
it's a good thing that you'll get us tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a good thing about podcasts. Now, Eric sent an email to the show a couple weeks ago, and he suggested that we should engage the liberals. And so this weekend I decided to do that. I was scanning around, and I saw a PodCamp Pittsburgh 7 presentation that I was that I attended, and I even spoke up. They were trying to say that Fox News wasn't about news, and I had to square them away with Brett Baer being one of the best in the business, in my opinion, and objective as hell. But anyway, I went on there and watched that, and the liberal guy is from Two Political Junkies. And he goes by the name of Davo, I think, on the blog. But it's a very well travel traffic blog. There's a lot of leftists in Pittsburgh, and he's cut right from the mold. I mean, he gets on there, and he basically, I haven't been following him that long, so I could be a little bit inaccurate in my description of his hate. But this guy gets on there, and every time anything comes out in the Trib, he knocks it. And he got up there, and he said at the beginning, I knew it was going to be a long day, when he immediately dismissed anybody that had any arguments against global warming. But anyway, I'm just going to give you the little back and forth that I commented on, and you can go on the show notes links page. He has the first link on the show notes links page, so apparently he went on our site. But if you want to go and talk to him, or see if you think he sounds reasonable or whatever, the link is there. So I said, and I probably shouldn't have done this. He's a little overweight, so my opening salvo was kind of like a little bit. Hutch said, "Damn, man, you should consider a diet. Global warming has been debunked scientifically, and you start your dissertation with the premise that anyone who believes other than you is just a moron. I attended this session, and although John Delano is slightly objective, I wish I would have been on the podium with you. I wonder. And I haven't followed you as closely as I will from now on, but what do you feel about the Second Amendment? I'm curious." And then I also interjected, "Please come to my site. We love the communist left to visit." And I gave our website address. And then he got, how long did it take him to respond? 6 minutes. Dave O said, "For the record, I didn't use the term moron." I never said he did. "I didn't use the term moron to describe anyone who fails to accept the science of climate change. But the science is solid. Go check with NASA." NASA, that's the organization that is there to promote Muslim well-being, right? Isn't that their mission?
Well, now it is, because they don't shoot anything up into space
Right.
anymore.
And NOAA, or the National Academy of Science, and they didn't find any fraudulent activity at any of those organizations either, I don't think.
No, I got to interject something.
Why,
'Cause
certainly.
global warming's one of my things, and I bitch about it all the time. Here's the deal, Davey O. What you got to do is you got to understand that the scientists who came up with the global warming, rhetoric, and how scary it was, and how desperate a situation it was told to do so by the government. They were told that if they did not, provide, a warning for global warming, that they would have their funding pulled. It's just this. I mean, it's fact.
All you got to do is
stated in
follow
court.
the money. You're right. All you got to do is follow the money and look at Al Gore's,
Yeah.
I forget what it is even called now, the Chicago Climate Exchange or the Chicago Carbon Exchange, one of those two, and it's bankrupt. It's,
The whole thing is a house of cards.
it is. It's ridiculous.
All right. In fact, I was looking for it while Hutch was talking. I couldn't find it. I just read it today. In fact, that you could see the cycles of climate change, and in 1934 it was actually 1 degree warmer than it was in 1989.
I read that article.
So it's actually, and anybody who was around in the 70s, there was an article in Newsweek in 1977 says, "Are you prepared for the next ice age?" So they now think about this, okay? Let's get this right. These weather forecasters can't tell you what it's going to do next fucking week, and they're going to tell you that in 10 years from now that the temperature is going to be 50 degrees warmer. Are you out of your mind?
Didn't Al Gore's deadline already pass the day that the world was supposed
well
to
past.
Well, I used that.
That's why he sold his damn network, because he needed money.
I used that Time magazine cover comparison on an article that I posted reacting to the rest of this. If you choose to believe that it's been debunked, it only shows your scientific illiteracy. So I'm a scientific illiterate. But please feel free to post any debunking on your blog. I would guess you could fit it in someplace where you're not swift-boating John Kerry. Really? After 8 years? Sir, I'm a veteran. I'm a combat veteran. Yeah, really, after 8 years. He's a traitor.
Yeah, there's nothing that can be said about John Kerry that would persuade me to think, I'm not swift-boating him. The term swift boating came from people who actually who actually were on the swift boats that he demonized.
All we
and
did,
they came out and they stood up for themselves. That's what they did. They stood up to the guy that this president is going to make the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, who basically said that anybody that was in the military was a baby killer and so on and so forth. And he hung out with Hanoi Jane and blah, 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 blah. So, Dave B.O., once again, we're not swift boating John Kerry. John Kerry did it himself.
I was letting John Kerry speak he was speaking for himself. All I did was showed video from I think it was a Dave Cavett show. I just put a video up there so you could listen to him yourself. He was the star of that video, not anybody from any swift boat. It was an excellent video. But continuing, so we were, if I could squeeze it in someplace where I'm not swift boating John Kerry or promoting torture, which is still a war crime and still illegal. I don't know where I did that. I couldn't figure out what he was referring to on that. But if you're talking about waterboarding, yeah, I'm for waterboarding.
Yeah. And that's not, I mean, it's called enhanced interrogation. And if you happen to watch the movie Zero Dark 30, the one that the White House gave all, the declassified materials for the bin Laden raid that they thought was going to be a rah-rah, shish-boom bomb video for Obama. And it came out to show that Obama was weak. And the fact that the enhanced interrogation techniques did work, maybe that's where you need to go. This bleeding heart liberal shit, if an enhanced interrogation technique, a waterboarding or torture, whatever the hell you want to call it, if that saves one of our guys, I'm all for it.
Yeah. And he continues, or calling Senator Feinstein a bitch, which should fully explain to everyone here the true level of your discourse and your character, that is. So my character is under the microscope because, well, let me finish. And then I responded, this is still the United States, and any politician that openly states, which she did on our website, openly states that she wants everyone to turn in their weapons is clearly in violation of her oath of office and earned the title bitch. And I put now there was one more response to that I didn't really understand, where he said, yeah, you're not helping yourself. And I'm like, okay, so a politician shouldn't have to follow her oath? Is that where he was going with that? But that was the end of it. I got tired of it after that. But this is what we're up against, Ward. This is you got to go to his blog and look at it. I mean, it's amazing. Every argument that we've made about everything, he just hyperlinks and dislinks and just the way some of these people think, it boggles your mind, man. It really does. Anti-Second Amendment, everything else.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was fun to deal with it, though. For a little bit. I'll do it again. I got him. I'm going to argue with everything that I care about. Half that shit I don't care about, but the important stuff I will. Ladies and gentlemen, your weekly jihad report, 12 January to 18 January. 50 jihad attacks, down to 7 Allah Akbars, 187 dead bodies, and 495 critically injured. The religion of peace, ladies and gentlemen, one body at a time. Now, Ward, this next story disturbed me. I moved it up in prominence. It was one of the later stories that were added to the show notes, and when I saw it, I almost vomited. I'd like your opinion on this. It seems that West Point, which, ladies and gentlemen, is the United States Army's military academy, West Point cites danger of far right in U.S. A West Point think tank has issued a paper warning America about far right groups such as the Anti-Federalist Movement, which supports civil activism, individual freedoms, and self-government. This report was issued this week by the Combating Terrorism Center at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, New York, and is titled Challengers from the Sidelines, Understanding America's Violent Far Right. And I would ask you, do you think that organization has been infiltrated?
Oh, absolutely. Here's the thing. I was going to try and find it, and I will find it, and we can put a link to it. The Department of Homeland Security considers veterans on the top. I mean, we're above terror.
That's the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this.
I mean, as far as what they consider groups that can potentially be volatile or whatever, it's veterans, and the more I hear about this, the more I think they're right. Because veterans are the guys that while they were off in college and they were smoking dope and doing whatever they're doing, the veterans were the guys that were getting up at 5 a.m. and strapping it on to defend the country. And those guys are the ones that understand what freedom is. They're the ones that understand what the paycheck is, or what the bill is for this freedom.
Yeah.
And freedom isn't free. And these are the guys that fought for it, that earned the title of veteran. And yeah, they're the first ones that are going to be going, hey, this is bullshit. What you're trying to do is illegal. It's anti-freedom. And I went to war. Whether you served in wartime or not, if you served, you're a veteran, and you understand what the price is.
Yep. And the thing that gets me, though, is that it's been infiltrated at this level at a normally conservative organization. I mean, this report says that there were 350 attacks initiated by far-right groups, individuals in 2011. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't remember 350 attacks by the far right. I remember Occupy Wall Street. I remember a whole lot of leftist things. I mean, it's been proven over and over that the violence is in the leftist groups. No doubt about it. And I don't understand that part of it. But if you just sent me a link, I can't see it because of the way my thing is configured. So you may have to talk about it.
I sent Hutch a link that is the Homeland Security terror threat level, and veterans are number 1, extremists are number 2, the bad economy is 3, illegal immigrants is 4, and emerging nations is 5.
Hey, that's something. That's gratitude. Thank you, Homeland Security. Thank you for your service. I appreciate that. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's unclear what makes an attack far right. And I think there's got to be care in there, and there's got to be some communist leftists in there. There has to be.
Oh, absolutely.
And there has to be no less than an investigation into everything when we get these people out, if we ever do. I mean, this has to be. We can't think that we're going to replace politicians and have this fixed. We're going to have to do some McCarthy style. Well, that'll get good on the lefties if they're listening to this. But McCarthy's been besmirched.
Right.
Yeah, he didn't do anything wrong. He got a little stupid at the end. He drank too much, I guess. But anyway, that's just shouldn't Combating Terrorism Center be combating radical Islam around the world, or within the country? It just blows me away. Now, another story that came up, Ward, that I'm very glad to see. I don't know if it's. I mean, I know it doesn't have any wheels under it, but at least there's 2 Republican congressmen with the balls to say that they're going to impeach Obama if he uses executive action for gun control.
Well, I think that he actually realized that, and when he was surrounded by the children. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing I don't get. Okay, you mean to tell me that they had 4 kids on stage, right? And he said that these 4 children wrote him a letter asking him to stop gun violence. Now, I'm not really a super genius or anything, so somebody needs to explain to me how these children would just come up with, out of the blue, go, you know what, I'm going to write the president. And I'm going to tell the president that I think that he should stop gun violence.
How sickening!
You don't think it had anything to do with, I don't know, their teachers, or maybe it was just an assignment given to them by their teachers, because at the behest of the White House.
Oh, I'm sure.
And then we're going to parade these children in. You know, it's stupid. You know, and I think he realized that, you know, if he tried to you know, end around the Constitution, especially the Second Amendment, with an executive order, there would have been hell to pay.
Oh, there would have been.
Because
there still is going to be. It's not over yet. There is.
Well, yeah, but every one of the Democrats that's going to they're trying to you know, weasel their way back and forth, going, I support it when it's convenient, and I don't support it. If he would pull that card and say, bam, I'm doing this, even the most staunch lefty Democrat who has any idea of continuing political office is going to turn on him.
Absolutely.
Because
and
they
really,
ain't going to have a choice, because if he violates the Second Amendment of the Constitution, that is, I mean, other than all the other stuff, you know, it's like, I've been seeing all this stuff where, you know, you need to have more strict background checks unless you're a drug cartel in Mexico.
Or a president.
Exactly.
You know, so personally, I think when I see all these kids out there and the letters they wrote, I don't give a damn what a little kid says. A little kid doesn't have anything in this conversation. You know, if it was up to me, you wouldn't be able to vote until you're 30. You know, I mean, the kids are what's screwing this country up. You know, the ones that mean well and feel well, but don't know shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, this is a tactic that's been used by every dictator ever.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, Hitler said it. I mean, it's in Mein Kampf. He said, "This is how you do it. You parade the children out and you make it about the children." Yep. I mean, you look at Mein Kampf and you look at the stuff that Hitler did, and then you just compare it. I'm not trying to lead you down a road and say,
it's true,
I'm
though.
saying that he's Hitler, but if you follow, you know, point A to point B, it's Hitler.
He nationalized all the businesses. I mean, he nationalized the banks. He did the exact same thing.
The auto industry, the healthcare industry.
And we're not gonna pretend that didn't happen. I mean, it did. So anyway, that's just something. What were we talking about? The impeachment. At least somebody. It's so illegal that, I mean, I can't believe that it hasn't come up before this, but it's just getting to the point of no return. And I agree with you. I think he realized, you know what, this is a no-win thing. There's like 1 million more guns on the market since I opened my mouth. You know, so
yeah. I mean,
I know people, man. I know people that are around me are tooling up. It's like, damn, women.
Here's the thing. I mean, I can understand him saying, you know what, there should be a background check for mentally, if you've been in a mental institution and you're crazy and shit. Yeah, I could see him saying, okay, you know, you spent time in a fucking crazy house. You know, maybe you have to have a doctor sign off and say, okay, he wasn't, you know, he was having delusions of grandeur or whatever.
Yeah, I think the standard needs to be, let him buy it. But if you can prove, like, in other words, like you just said, if somebody has a mental problem 30 years ago and it's squared away, you know, if a doctor will say it's squared away, you know, I think every effort needs to go towards you being able to be armed if you're a citizen. Absolutely, and I totally agree with that. But at the same time, you get somebody who's just been discharged. I agree. From a psychiatric institute. And they say, you know, go down and, you know what, I want to buy an AR-15 or I want to go buy me an assault rifle. Yeah. You can't buy an assault rifle, okay? But the other thing, too, is the Lautenberg Amendment's a little funny, and I don't know, I'm going to study up on this, but I believe that if you are ever accused of domestic violence, that takes you off the list. Accused. I can't believe that. You'd have to have it on your record. I mean, to check. It would have to be. I'm gonna look. It would have to be something that was, you know, that you were convicted of. I have to check it out. Because if you're convicted, a convict shouldn't be allowed to own a gun anyway. Well, I mean, a felon, I would say. I don't know. Yeah, I mean that's the way it is. A felon. If a guy's on hard times and he gets caught shoplifting groceries or something, I mean, I don't. If he used a gun in the crime, that's different.
Yeah,
But to
I mean,
say that he can't defend his family,
the way it is now, a felon's not allowed to own a gun.
Yeah, that's fine.
And you know, and 9 times out of 10, what happens? You know, you get these guys that are repeat offenders. So they've been felons before, they've shot people before, and they have guns. That goes back to the argument that you can make all the laws and all the rules that you want. The bad guys are still going to end up with guns.
Yeah.
And the good, all you're doing is taking guns. You're taking protection away from people who need it.
And we'll say hello to Jeffrey in the chat room. I think one other thing that is a little not so good in the law is if you serve. And let me finish this all the way through before you shout at me. If you serve over 2 years, or no, if you were convicted of a crime to where you could have served over 2 years, you can't own a gun. And there's several nonviolent criminals that fall into that category. One of them is failure to pay child support. There's several crimes like that the law is kind of a little shady. It goes past the felon part. You know, I agree with the felon part. But there's...
Well, yeah, the felon part's all I agree with.
I do too. And I also think that the background checks and any and all records should stop at the state level. I do not think the federal government should have availability of everybody else's records. I think that should stop with the governor of the state. And if a federal government has a viable case on somebody, then they can approach the attorney general for that state, and that attorney general can decide if they in fact deserve those records. I don't like the idea of those records in Washington's hands because of the type of administration that we have right now. You know? So anyway, moving right along, we had a vote. We had a couple votes, but they voted on the Hurricane Sandy relief. And I believe that what it did is it identified the first candidates that I think organizations like Freedom Works could start getting primaries ready in the GOP primaries coming up. And I'm gonna list a couple of them. Everybody that listens to this show isn't from this area, so you might be from one of these other states. And I would suggest that you go to the show notes links page and you can look at the full list. But Rodney Alexander from Louisiana, Charles Bootstany from Louisiana, John Carter from Texas. There's a whole list of them. None from Pennsylvania. Michael Turner from Ohio, Ed Whitfield from Kentucky. But this is a list of Republicans that voted for this goddamn disgusting. Did you see this bill? Did you see this bill? It's $60 billion.
Yeah.
That, like, most of it has nothing to do with Hurricane Sandy. And we continue to go down this path with the gravy train comes rolling through Washington, D.C., and all these people jump on it like we're not $16 trillion in debt. And it's got to stop. I mean, it's just absolutely, these Republicans need to be primaried the hell out. They do, because they either have pork products involved with it or something else to that effect. I don't know what it is, but there's 25 Republicans there that are going to be the first ones that need to get primaried out, and the lists are on the show notes links page. It's got to end.
Oh, absolutely. Like, you're absolutely right, Hutch. You know, I can understand them saying, hey, you know what, there's people that are suffering, you know, because they lived on the beach and they took a hit. I can dig that. But when it's, well, in order for me to sign this bill to help those people out, I got to get something for my district.
It's disgusting. We talked about it last week. But at least now we have names. There's names of Republican congressmen that need to be voted out. They do. We're not going to get anywhere until we get something closer to pure when it comes to conservative representation. These people are saying they're Republicans. They're from Democrat districts, and it's got to end. It just does. It's got to end soon. Now, again, the president already told Paul Ryan he's done. He's not gonna meet it.
Yeah, he said, "I'm not gonna." I mean, we kind of touched on this earlier in the show. Once again, Paul Ryan sent a letter to the White House and said, and we talked about this like 2 weeks ago and said, hey, are you going to, meet the deadline for the budget? And the White House has informed the House Budget Committee Chairman Paul Ryan that it will miss the legal deadline for sending a budget to Congress. In a letter received late Friday, that the budget will not be delivered by February 4th as required by law. In the letter, Zients said the administration is working diligently on our budget request. The letter blames the late passage of the fiscal cliff deal for the delay, saying that because tax and spending issues were not resolved until January 2nd, the administration was forced to delay some of its FY 2014 budget preparations. In turn, it will delay the budget submission to Congress. We will submit it to Congress as soon as possible, Zients writes. It's funny how they're going to blame the fiscal cliff for it. And
I like the way they lie. I like the way that they come out, and Obama had a press conference. He reiterated his stance. He said failure to raise the debt ceiling will cause a default on payments ranging from Social Security benefits to tax refunds to bond interest, depending on how long it takes. And that's a lie.
What's better than
default is not paying your bills. And the bills that we have, the serious bills, the interest on our debt and it's the service on the debt and the interest on the debt. We have much more revenue that comes in every month from taxpayers than that. So that is a lie right off the bat, and it will be told, and it will be told often. Now, I understand that what the GOP has done is they have decided, and I'm in favor of this, they decided to go ahead and just pass it. They're going to tie it to something, but there's not going to be an argument. We lose it every time. The American people don't care enough about economics to understand that we're not going to default, and if soldiers aren't going to get paid, it's only because the president said so. And I just don't think there's enough interest in that out in the country. It's been proven over and over. I said before, I think it's time to pick another battlefield.
Well, it goes back to, that's always the same thing, right? If they can't get what they want, it's, well, the soldiers aren't going to get paid, and we're going to, grandma's not going to get paid. They're trying to take away her Social Security check, and
they fall for it every time. And the media just sits up there and blatantly lies. I read another good article today that basically said that what Obama's doing is killing the media. This could very well be. Look, Time Magazine. Newsweek is gone. The New York Times just laid off hundreds. Every media organization across the globe, across the spectrum, except for Fox News, is getting their asses handed to them.
Well, part of the reason is, number one, nobody has faith in them anymore. Even the super libs understand that what they have to know that they're being lied to. And the fact that they can go up and they can blatantly lie, I think that's, and this is a story that we talked about, through executive order, the president has his finger on the internet switch. And we said this before on this show, knowledge is power.
Yeah, that's why we do
knowledge
the show.
Is power. That's why we do the show, to help people understand what's going on, because we know that the liberal media isn't telling you the truth.
It's a sad state of affairs. Could you imagine where the country could be with an honest media? That's all I'm asking, honest. Truth. The truth will set you free. If the Republicans are killing the country, say it. But just report honestly. That's all we need. And here's a very good incidence of that is this next story. Why Michelle Bachmann is right about Keith Ellison. Keith Ellison is a congressman from Minnesota that makes me nauseous. While Representative Michelle Bachmann has been vindicated for suggesting that Muslim Brotherhood elements have infiltrated the U.S. government, the left-wing activist group People for the American Way has launched a petition drive against Representative Bachmann in an effort to remove her from the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Now, that's just disgusting. And what she did is Congressman Michelle Bachmann has accused Congressman Keith Ellison of having a long record of being associated with the Hamas-linked Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, and the Muslim Brotherhood. Evoking the days of McCarthyism, a common charge being leveled at Bachmann these days, Ellison responded, "I am not now, nor have I ever been associated with the Muslim Brotherhood." He accused Bachmann of religious bigotry, which is ridiculous. I think she has a very narrowly prescribed definition of who belongs and who doesn't, and there's a whole block of people she doesn't like. I think she thinks that we're evil because we don't understand God the way she does. It's also about marginalizing and alienating a certain group of Americans who she does not view are American enough. Not content with that, he accused her of petty attention-seeking. The only problem with Ellison's wounded martyr stance toward Bachmann's accusations is that what she said is true. Ellison really does have a long record of being associated with Hamas-linked CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood. As long ago as 2006, Ellison's closeness to Nihad Awad, co-founder of Hamas-linked CARE, was a matter of public record. Awad, who notoriously has said in 1994 that he was in support of the Hamas movement, spoke at fundraisers for Ellison, raising considerable sums for his first congressional race. According to the investigative journalist Patrick Poole, Ellison has appeared frequently at CARE events since then, despite the fact that CARE is an unindicted co-conspirator. You know, they ought to change that too. They ought to indict the sons of bitches. Unindicted co-conspirator in a Hamas terror funding case so named by the Justice Department, CARE operatives have repeatedly refused to denounce Hamas and Hezbollah as terrorist groups. Several former CARE officials have been convicted of various crimes related to jihad terror. I mean, it is what it is, man. She was right, and she's always been right. And I lost a lot of respect for Marco Rubio when he didn't stand up with her, and John Boehner, and John McCain, and the rest of these people.
I have absolutely no faith in John Boehner, nor do I have any faith in McCain. I mean, all they're doing is they're trying to, they're not trying to help or point out what's wrong with this country. All they want to do is, who do we have to pay to make this go away?
That's it.
And that's basically what it is. And I was looking when you started the story, because I had a thing about the debt ceiling. And in 2006, Obama said, and I quote, "America's debt ceiling is a sign of leadership failure."
Oh yeah, when Bush was in.
And in 2013, he said, "Not raising the debt ceiling would be absurd and irresponsible."
Yeah, called him unpatriotic.
Yeah.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would suggest that you go to the show notes links page to read the rest of this story on Keith Ellison, because he is a freaking jihadist. I mean, you look at his associations. Keith Ellison's Brotherhood ties should be investigated. He and so many others on the left have had such a furious reaction to her mere call for an investigation is only an indication that they have something to hide. John Boehner and the rest of the Republican congressional leadership should be defending her and joining her call for investigations into Muslim Brotherhood influence in the government. Instead, to their shame, they have joined Ellison in throwing her to the wolves in confronting the threat of Islamic supremacism, and meanwhile, the Islamic supremacists continue to advance. I'll bet you there's one in West Point.
I would not doubt that.
Now, something that there's a phenomenon going on. We are very lucky to have, from Texas, a Tea Party senator that is very articulate when it comes to conservatism. And he's been speaking out a lot lately. I mean, this guy's got I don't think Alan West ever got on the Sunday shows. I mean, I don't think he ever made it that far. But Ted Cruz from Texas was speaking about Obama recently.
Yeah, and Senator Cruz said Thursday that Barack Obama is high on his own power.
That's a fact.
With regard to the president's announced efforts on gun control. Speaking on Laura Ingram's radio show, Cruz, who was just elected to the Senate last November, said, "This is a president who has drunk the Kool-Aid. He is feeling high he's feeling right now high on his own power, and he is pushing on every front on guns," Cruz said. "And I think that it's really sad to see the president of the United States exploiting the murder of children and using it to push his own extreme anti-gun agenda. I think that the president is proposing, and the gun control proposals that are coming from Democrats in the Senate are, number one, unconstitutional, and number two, they don't work. They're just bad policy."
Yeah, Ted Cruz is okay in my book. He's able to really articulate the gun question. I mean, he's really good on that, and he's definitely good on the fiscal problems that plague us. I mean, we're in desperate need. That's one of the reasons we do this show. I mean, we're in desperate need of some communicators that can get out there. That's why I was so excited about the guy that spoke from the West Virginia Civil Defense League. I mean, this guy was just excellent, man. I mean, he was this leftist was coming back at him, and he was shooting him down at every turn. I mean, I know that, ladies and gentlemen that are listening to the program, I know I'm not the only one that when you watch an interview by a leftist and you watch some old codgy Republican shout the party line, you're screaming at the TV, you know, and saying, "Hey, why doesn't this guy say this? Why doesn't he say that?" I mean, there's no way this president should be, not just the president, but these leftists, there's no way they should go unchallenged with some of the things that they say. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I mean, the stuff that Nancy Pelosi has done and said, you know, had that been a Republican who came out and said, "Well, we can't tell you what's in this bill until after we pass it." If that had been a Republican that done that, it would have been, you know, chaos. And the fact that, you know, it just irritates.
It does.
It aggravates me so much I start to stutter. The fact that the media doesn't do anything because it's a Democrat. You know, I mean, we had a story where Van Jones said, you know,
shit, I almost forgot about him.
Yeah, well, where he said that had Obama not been the president, that they were going to protest and picket, and they had all kinds of stuff lined up. So for the oil leak in the Gulf, when that happened, had that been a Republican president, you know, I mean, the fact that Obama didn't go to the coast for 4 months after
that was unreal. There was like nothing coming out of Washington. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing Ted Cruz in the future. I think he's going to be a good guy. Rand Paul's starting to make some noise too. Rand Paul basically told Chris Christie to shut the hell up. Somebody needed to do that. I mean, that guy there, I don't even want to hear about Chris Christie. Chris Christie's dead to me. He's a freaking Democrat as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, absolutely.
He was good with the unions, but other than that, there's things that are much more important than the unions.
Well, I think he was actually, you know, I mean, he was a rhino. I mean, that's probably why he got elected.
Yeah.
You know, for him to say, "I got elected because I was a Republican."
He's no Republican, and any Republican pundit that brings his name up loses immediate credibility with me. And they're doing it. They're doing it. Like, I would never get behind that guy. I mean, it's time for his turn to the right, you know, but it's not going to work with me. I saw the Muslim people he put in the judiciary, you know, the Muslim Brotherhood style people, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just, it's not going to wash. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. Now, as to what we were talking about earlier with the left-wing environmental, you know, I put something up too on the Facebook page. The video's a little bit old, but it might not be on the Facebook page. It might be on my page. I can't remember, but I'll get it on the on the Facebook page. I don't know if you remember it, but it was these environmentalists that were out in the woods and they were crying for the trees.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Somebody reposted that on Live Leak, and I had to throw it out there. But government scientists were fired for telling the truth. Something is amiss at the Department of Interior. 8 government scientists were recently fired or reassigned after voicing concerns to their superiors about faulty environmental science used for policy decisions, which begs the question, are some government agencies manipulating science to advance political agendas? Dave-o, Davey-o.
Yeah, I think this he asked for links. I think we give him this link and say, look, when you blackmail people into saying what you want them to say, a scientist is supposed to report facts.
Yeah.
No matter what, whether it furthers your cause or not, you expect them to have, scientific value and scientific merit. And if they come back and say, you know what, we can't prove it one way or another, then so be it. You can't prove it one way or another. But when you say to them, hey, you're going to say what we want you to say, or you're going to be unemployed.
Unbelievable, man. And it happened. I mean, Department of Interior. They uncovered all those email trails where they were saying that the guy from, was he from Harvard or something, or where was he from? The grandfather of global warming, which started out being global warming, but the political.
No, it started out being global cooling.
Right, but the global warming.
In the 70s, it was global cooling, and we were going into an ice age. And then once that ice age didn't materialize, it's, oh, shit, must be because everything's heating up.
So we go to global warming.
Became global warming.
And then we start easing into the cooling again, so then it becomes climate change. I mean, this is not something that's done just by accident. I mean, this is, all you got to do is follow the money, man. This is a giant global hoax to get people to pay taxes on CO2. I mean, yeah, that's what it is.
And basically, that what they're wanting you to pay tax on is carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
All right. So in order for you to reduce your carbon dioxide, you need to quit fucking breathing.
That feeds the trees. I mean, they're trying to. It's unbelievable, man. It really is.
Because anybody who had basic biology understands how photosynthesis works.
Yeah.
And the
that
trees
was the first
take in the carbon dioxide and make oxygen.
That was the first big word that you learned, boys and girls. Remember?
Oh yeah.
That was the first one. You were all proud of yourself when you learned that.
Photosynthesis.
Yeah, Mrs. Smurdell. Anyway, the whole global warming thing. There's one thing that controls global warming, and that's the furnace, the sun, and our distance from it. No little level in between. That's like saying that the air in between the fire and the bottom of the frying pan has something to do with how fast the eggs are going to cook. The sun is in charge. The air is not in charge. That's just that's for a Yinzer point of view. That's for basic. I shouldn't use the word Yinzer on this program. I've never done it before, and I'll never do it again. I might even bleep that out. I'm not sure. But anyway, oh man, yeah. So Rand Paul is starting to make some noise. He's been out there talking, and I can get behind Rand Paul. If Rand Paul doesn't get, I think he's smarter than his dad.
If he doesn't get his batshit, crazy as his old man, yeah, I agree with you.
I could actually,
and I even said before, and I've said it on this show, and I'll say it again. I agreed with 90% of what Ron Paul said.
And I like the way Rand is his take on the military stuff that Ron Paul said. See, I think Ron Paul just knew he couldn't get anything, so he just said whatever he felt like. He's 90 years old. He's like, I'm getting ready to die. I'll say what the hell I want. You know how people get when they get.
Oh yeah, he's batshit crazy.
My grandmother was the same way. But I think Rand Paul, the way he handled it, the way he spoke of a strong military for national defense that doesn't get involved in everybody's damn civil war. I don't have a problem with that.
No, I totally agree with that.
I do not have a problem with that.
The only way that we could do that, once again, and I've said it before on the show, the only way that we can do that is to get out of the fucking UN.
Oh, I agree, and I think Rand Paul would probably back that.
I'd be all behind that.
So would I. And I mean, I just don't. As long I would like to know his definition of a threat. I would like to know if he thinks Islam is a threat or not. There are some basic things that you have to meet for me to be behind you, and that's one of them. I mean, just because of the last 2 or 3 years of the studying that I've done because of this show, just leads me to, that has to be a prerequisite. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, contact the show, SCRTV@live.com. Go to Steel City or Facebook.com/Steel City Resistance. There's always a ton of stuff on there. Like the page. Download the show on iTunes. Get it on Stitcher. What else is going on, Ward? Anything else happening?
You got to hit up the website itself, steelcityresistance.wordpress.com.
Ton of videos there, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Hutch. Whereas I do all the Facebook stuff, Hutch does all the WordPress stuff. So we kind of each have our own little world. And there have been times when there was some population where Hutch will post something on Steel City Resistance, and I'll repost it on the Facebook page. But I try not to do that.
Oh, you can. There's no problem.
To give them their own separate entities or their own separate identities or whatever. But yeah, definitely check them out. Tell your friends, your like-minded friends or your friends that you have that don't quite see eye to eye with you, and turn them on to us and see if we can convince them otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll do that, and we'll talk with anybody that talks civilly. No doubt about it. Anyway, you got anything else for the program, Ward?
No, sir. I am over and out.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We will definitely catch up with you next week.